Hi and welcome back to the next video series. So you can already see it here in the background. The title is Advanced Block. And what we do here is we will continue what we did in our first video series called, let's see it here, Block Project with Nest.js and Angular. So you have seen here there are 29 videos published for the Nest.js backend, for the Angular frontend, and also some for writing E2E tests with Cypress. And now I have one big issue, because if I want to, newer videos, want to make some refactorings or rebuild some stuff or do some stuff different, then the video or old published videos gets outdated because of refactorings or rebuilding stuff different. And so it's like a little bit hard if you're a beginner and you watch the video and then you go into the code from GitHub or GitLab, whatever you like to use, and then you see that this component that I just made in the video is completely different here, or it's not even in the same folder or in the same module. So this makes it quite hard. And then what we will do in this series, so we will of course do like huge refactorings. We will also do some stuff like use Docker. We want to use probably later microservices. And we have to, 1 second. For microservices, then in the front end, we want to make it a little bit fancier so that it looks nicer. You have more implementation of icons and so on. So for example, you can also implement something like ngrx, like a store to get some data, to retrieve data, to post data, so that we have like, that we are more, or that we can better handle things independently. Of course, we want to introduce some new modules with new functionality. So for example, we could enhance the block feature with something like, let's say we want to also be able to create a team and so on. So we can make some other use cases and make new modules either in the backend in Nest.js or in the front end in Angular. So this is basically what we can do here. And so it's for me easier to make like a new project. And we start already with this is just like a completely pull request. So it's like a copy from our old repository. So this here is the state that we are here in now. So this is completely the same. And let's go over it a little bit. So at first I have it running here. So you have like a home page. You have all the posts that someone published, so all block entries. And so one big thing, or one of the first things, would be to rename the block entries to posts, which is much more familiar. But if I would do this in the last video series, then everyone who's doing all the block entry stuff and then is going to the GitHub code gets completely confused why it's now called posts and so on, you know. So this is just some stuff. So you can paginate here. You can open an article. This here is a placeholder image. This here would be the text and so on. You can go to the profile of the author, who's having a profile image, a username, a role, and you can also see here all the block entries or posts that this author created. You can also register, you can update your own profile, or you can log in. And for this I can here use the sample user that I created. And then if I log in, I'm getting, you can see it here, like a JWT token returned, which provides me my identity, who I am, and what I can do. And so I can now also create a post. I can upload an image, give it a title, description, enter markdown, and so on, and add this block entry. Admin actually is at the moment doing nothing. So we could also implement here some functionalities. We have a list of all the users that are registered right now. So these are all some demo users from me. You can paginate through them. You can also filter by first name or by username and so on. So let's have a quick look in our backend and in our front end, so in the code. So in the front end, we are using Angular, and we are not that much divided by modules like I wish that we are. So we have here some components like block entry, like home, like login, like register for user. And what I would like to do later, or in this video series also, move this all to different modules so that we have one module for the complete block, one module for the user, and so on, so that we are more independently. And yeah, you can see it here. We have here our services. This is for the authentication service. You can log in, log out, register, get a user ID. We have a block service where you can basically do some craft stuff. So create, read, update, delete, and the user service. And then in our backend, we are using nest.js, which also is like similar to Angular in the front end, because we also have modules, so it's heavily inspired by Angular. And you can already see here one of the first things that should be made different. So here, our out module is having a forward ref to the user module, and so it's having a circular dependency, which you should heavily avoid. And actually the next video will be about removing this dependency, so the circular dependency. And so we have like a auth module, which is there to provide all the stuff that we need to authenticate a user. So for login, to create a JWT, to validate a JWT, you can see this here, generate JWT, hash a password, compare password. If the user logs in, we have to check that his password is right. We also have some guards that we are using on endpoints, so that, for example, only a user who is having the role admin can change other users and so on. Then we have like our user module, which is handling all the stuff for the user entity. And we have here some basic endpoints to get a profile image, to upload a profile image, update a role of a user. And here you can see the guard in action. So this checks if the user who is trying to change the role of a different user is having the role admin or not. And for this, we use the JWT auth guard and the roles guard, and this will check if this user who is trying to make this request, he has to provide JWT, of course, is having the role admin or not, and so on. And so we have here all our basic stuff that we need. So then we have a block module who is handling all the stuff for our block entry entity, which will be renamed to posts entity. And you can go just into the controller, where we can see that we can create a block entry, and we use there the JWT auth guard to check who is the user. And then if we create a block entry or later a post, then we add also here the user to this, who made this, so the author. So let's see, where is it? So here we set the block entry.author is the user, and you can see here the author is linked to a user, and we can also see this here in our user entity. Where are we? 1 second. So I think in our block entry entity, we have a many-to-one relationship to the user entity, so that many block entries or many posts are related to one user, or one user can have many block entries. Here, and this is basically what the block module here is doing. We can create a block entry. We can get all block entries paginated. We can get all the block entries by a single user. So for example, if I publish with my account 10 block entries, then I can go, or this is being used here on the page for one user, for example, for this user here. Then we query, you can see it in the network. If I make FF5, you can see then we query all the block entries by the user with the ID 7, and then we have here like the query parameters page and limit, so that we want from the first page the first, so the 10 entries. So this is here. Then we can find exactly one by ID. We can update one block entry. We can delete one. We can upload a file, and we can find an image. So this is basically the functionality that we are having right now. And we have also some Postman collection. So one Postman collection YouTube block, which has all the API requests that are possible for the block entry that are listed here with examples. So you can always look here in the body, and you always have to look if you have to provide a token. So for example, if you want to log in, you can go to user, you can go for the login request, and you have here like an email, a password that you have to specify for your database, so what user is correct for you. And then you can just execute this request, and then you get here the response. You can also, and so you can always choose. And these are also lying here in our folder structure at the top for Postman versus collection. You can just import it, and then you have all the requests, and when you start the backend, you can just execute them. So here in our README, you have some introductions how to run the projects or the project. So if you want to have the latest changes, switch to the branch develop. At first, you have to provide an environment file to the project. So because there you have to add your own database URL and your JWT secret, which will be used for generating the JWT and validating it. If you want to know how to add a database, you can do this in this video here that I made. And in this case, I used the free database with Postgres from Elephant SQL, so explained in this video. But also, like I said, later I probably will change this to Docker and make an internal and provide an image from the Postgres database that we can use with internal networking in the Docker. And here also is a video that explains what you have to do to provide your JWT secret in the environment file. And so this here would be like an example. You could say database URL. Here you insert your database URL, and this could be, for example, your JWT secret. Then if you have added v.env file, you can cd into your API folder and npm install everything, and then run and start the dev profile. So in the watch mode with nest.js application, you can start the front end with just going to the front end folder and run ng-serve after npm install. You can also run the E2E tests, but they are very basic, so that's nothing fancy, just how to show you what you can do with Cypress or how you can generate a report. You have this command here. And these here are the playlists for this state. So this is a simple block project where all the Nest.js and Angular videos are. This here are just the Angular videos, and this here are all videos. And so I will add here another playlist that is for the advanced block project.